Jill Biden closing out the second night of the virtual Democratic National Convention. She got personal when describing how her husband rebuilt his family after tragedy.
He found that love holds a family together. Love makes us flexible and resilient. It allows us to become more than ourselves together. And though it can't protect us from the sorrows of life, it gives us refuge, a home. How do you make a broken family whole? The same way you make a nation whole. With love and understanding, and with small acts of kindness, with bravery, with unwavering faith.
Okay, joining me now, Angela Rye, Karen Finney. I got to watch myself in this because you guys are tough. You're going to come at me if I get something wrong, but I know you'll give me my shine if I get something right. Hello to both of you. Good to see you. Angela, I got to start with you because we talked, the former First Lady we discussed last night, the Second Lady now hoping to become the First Lady. So Jill Biden said her husband can heal this country with love like he did his family. How do you think she did?
I think she did wonderfully. To see her in a classroom, which is her choice of profession, to see her talk about her family experience with the Bidens and the many ways in which she served very much as the glue. I think she made a compelling case tonight about not only why Joe Biden could help to heal a nation, but why Jill Biden arguably can serve in that role too. What I think is really cool about what happened last night with our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, speaking first, is she almost passed this you're the closer now opportunity to Jill Biden. And I think Joe Biden just really rose to the occasion. It was one of the best moments of the night to me, again, because it was heartfelt, it was pure, it was authentic, and I really respected it. I think the line about how to make a broken family whole, knowing that she lived that. She literally came into the Biden family as a surrogate mother and as adopted those kids as if they were her own and raised them as if they were her own. And I think that is a narrative that is really, really tough for anyone to fight back against if they've been through any type of trauma like that. Yeah. So I thought it was really, really well done.
And did it after a tragedy that had happened to her husband. He had a previous tragedy, right, with a child and his wife. You know, Karen, I want to talk about another speaker tonight, and that was George W. Bush's former Secretary of State, Colin Powell. Listen to this, and then we'll talk.
Our country needs a commander-in-chief who takes care of our troops in the same way he would his own family. For Joe Biden, that doesn't need teaching. With Joe Biden in the White House, you will never doubt that he will stand with our friends and stand up to our adversaries, never the other way around.
Okay, so look, here's Colin Powell has always been, you know, never at a loss for words. He criticizes when he needs to criticize. He is one of multiple Republicans the DNC is showcasing. Do you think that Biden or the Democrats are at risk of overplaying Biden's ties to Republicans?
Somewhat, although I will say that I think Colin Powell, we kind of have to put him in a slightly special category because I think he occupies, if we taking apart the Iraq war, he does, his story and his persona does, I think, occupy something of a special place for a lot of people. But I definitely thought that that was part of why it was so important to have so many wonderful young progressive leaders kind of tee off at each other and do that keynote where they kind of all did it together, because it felt like we really did hear and see the new progressive leaders in the party, and I loved giving them a platform for a voice. And I do think, you know, Colin Powell does speak with authority, and I think people respect his opinion, particularly when it comes to our men and women in uniform. I think people believe that he is very committed to our troops. It is, you know, when he has spoken out, it has generally been about something that is related to how these men and women are treated. And again, I think he made such a great personal case as well as the policy case. The policy case, we know Joe Biden has the foreign policy chops. He's got the relationships. He will help repair our reputation around the world. But Jill and General Powell reminded us also that, Bo was a soldier, and that pain of sending your child off to war and living that experience. And that's a guy who is not going to let our military families suffer the way this president does with such indifference.
You've had some really strong, Angela, powerful, authentic, relatable women come out and speak for Joe Biden. The former First Lady, as we say, the forever First Lady. You had his wife, Joe Biden, and then you've had Cindy McCain as well, also speaking out about her husband's relationship with Joe Biden. Listen to this.
It was a friendship that shouldn't have worked. John, a former Navy pilot just released from a North Vietnamese prison. Joe, a young senator from Delaware.
Legislative assistance.
But in the 1970s, Joe was assigned a military aide for a trip overseas.
I was the Navy's Senate liaison and used to carry your bags on overseas trips.
The son of a gun never carried my bags. He was supposed to carry my bags, David, but he never carried my bags.
John and Joe traveled thousands of miles together. The families got to know each other, gathering for picnics in the Bidens' backyard.
They would just sit and joke. It was like a comedy show sometimes to watch the two of them.
Well, then it goes on, Angela, to say when they were both in the Senate together, they would fight, on the Senate floor about issues, and then you'd see them having dinner later that night. Angela, was this effective?
Yeah, I think that, again, the convention is doing a great job this year of reaching out to people beyond the Democratic Party. I still think we've got some work to do within the party. So, for example, tonight, racial justice was only mentioned a few times, and 2 of the times were with some of the delegates who were speaking up in the roll call to nominate Joe Biden. It was a big misstep to have Stacey Abrams on for, 30 seconds? Stacey Abrams has this tremendous track record of galvanizing people of all colors, but especially people of color. And I also think, with the AOC discussion, I'm getting tons of texts from my team and my friends like, what was that? Like, they need her somewhere else. And I know that we can write whole think pieces about that and why that was. Of course, she's a longtime Bernie supporter, but I just really want the party to gel. In order for the country to heal, as Joe Biden said, the party has to gel. And that means bringing in folks who aren't necessarily Democratic leadership or a part of governance committees or any, in any particular caucus in the party, but they are voters who normally vote Democratic and normally vote progressive. It is very, very important to get that right this week. We are almost out of time.
Yeah, well, and we are out of time.
Not quite. The election is on November 3rd. We have a little bit of time, but it's...
No. Well, I mean, we're out of time for this segment, but I do have to say, no, considering, come on now, Angela, it's early in LA, so.
Right? Well, let me tell you, since we're out of time, let me just give you this little footnote. Tell your boy Cuomo that Too Short was not in the Ghetto Boys. The Ghetto Boys, that was Bushwick Bill in Houston, Texas.
Bring him in.
And Too Short is from Oakland. Get it right, Cuomo.
That's true. You're right. Angela, this is what it looks like when you're admitting that you were wrong about something, by the way. Just for future reference.
I've never
Seeing
seen you
how
do
you've
it.
never done it ever in all the time I've known you. But I had the lyric
You're such
right.
a liar.
I had
You're
the big
a
point.
liar.
I had the
Cuomo,
big point.
you don't do it.
I had the big point right.
I was just sitting there looking at him like, what are you talking about?
First of all, you Googled
You
it.
should have told
You
him
Googled it. You
Bushwick
weren't even
Bill.
alive for the Ghetto
Who,
Boys.
me or Angela?
Please, let me tell
Angela,
you.
she
Let me
Googled
tell
it.
you, that's a lie, Cuomo. And here's
Look at them
the
all
thing.
yelling at me.
Your
Bring
mind
it
is
on.
playing tricks on you. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun,
here it
dun,
comes. I like
dun, 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 dun. Hey!
Oh, okay, so.
I can move. Don't sleep on it.
Hey, listen. All right, listen, I hate to break up this whole thing, but I do have to say, Angela, I think you're right about the criticism about AOC. Chris and I have been talking about that. And by some of the more progressive members of the party, they may try to get it right before the end of this convention. Let's see if they do, or at least add a couple more voices. So they took Chris right off the screen. Whoop, like that. He's gone. So
I took all Karen's time. Can Karen say something?
Karen,
The women have been bringing it. So the pressure is on the fellas to kick it up several notches.
Why do you think I have both of you on? Karen, don't call the cops on us because we got to go.
I'm talking about for the convention, brother. I'm talking about the convention.
This is a shady room. This is a shady room.
This is what goes
No,
on.
you started it by calling out Chris, so I got to go. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Karen. Thanks, Chris. We'll be right back.
Joe Biden's a good man. That's easy. That's an easy sell. He's the right man for this party, the state of the Democratic Party right now, right man for this time in this country. Tougher sell. So what did that look like in the second night of the DNC unconventional convention? What was good? What leaves something to be desired? The second part will probably matter more moving forward, but we have two beautiful guests for this, Paul Begala and Angela Rye. I was giving Angela a hard time, but I love her and I need her, and it's great to have you both on the show. Paul, let's start with what you liked. What worked for you tonight? What did you feel had this party positioned at its best?
Well, there was a 1-2 punch of President Clinton, breaking tradition, really went after Donald Trump. It's a very calm, very sedate delivery because there's no audience, but he just stuck the knife in. And then at the end, Dr. Jill Biden. Oh my gosh, what the best case that I've ever heard made for her husband, who's a terrific guy, you're right. But for her to make the case the way she did about the country as well as their family and how he can stitch together the country the same way he pulled back together his family after multiple tragedies. I thought that was pretty great. You have to make the case against the guy, why to fire him, and then you got to make the case why the Democrats a better one to hire.
Angela, is my read right or wrong on this? On one level, look, I like that we're not putting women in a box. We're letting them bring the value that they offer. Michelle Obama, it shouldn't be a surprise that she gives a great speech. She keeps doing it every time she gives one. No surprise. Jill Biden, she understands that we're doing our kids dirty. She comes from the classroom. She understands it. Now, similarly, AOC not even saying Joe Biden's name, having like 90 seconds. I don't want to get it wrong, but I think it was like 90 seconds. She is the face of the progressive wing of the party in many ways that Bernie Sanders is not. Stacey Abrams. Every Democrat wants to talk about how Stacey Abrams is aspirational, and then, they didn't really. Am I wrong about this? That seems like that missed.
I am completely your amen corner here, Chris. Unlike
What'd
the
you
Ghetto
say?
Boys moment.
What'd you say?
I said I'm
Hold
your
on a
amen
second.
corner on this, not
Sorry.
on the Ghetto Boys.
Oh, I got you.
But,
there you go again.
Yeah.
Had to bring it up. Had to bring it up.
But here's the point. What we have to understand is that we have said for a long time that the Democratic Party is the big tent party. The only time the big tent is supposed to apply is when it's time to go and cast your votes. It has not been a big tent when it comes to influence. It has not been a big tent when it comes to leadership and power and exercising that power. And it has not been a big tent when it comes time to talk about an agenda and demands. And AOC's been super clear that she hadn't been ready to endorse Joe Biden until she saw some things from her agenda in his. One and the same. You've seen a lot, even within my own community, a ton of backlash for us writing an op-ed with demands in it. This isn't to wound Joe Biden. This is to make him stronger. Diversity is supposed to be the thing we tell companies all the time. Impacts your bottom line. This impacts his bottom line. His bottom line might not be revenue, but it's votes, and he has to count the votes. He used to be the whip for the Committee on Homeland Security, the staff whip. He needs to learn how to count votes. And the only way to the victory is through Black and brown communities. So he's got to shore these up. And Stacey Abrams not talking long enough tonight, that was a big miss too. I got some others.
Hillary Clinton doing better at this point with minority voters than Joe Biden. Begala. That is an issue. You have to have your base come out in a way it did not in 2016, or you may wind up in the same situation at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I do think this debate about, should the Democrats reach out to swing voters in the suburbs or should they rally their base? I just think it's just stupid and pointless. It's like saying, should I use my left lung or my right lung? right? Should the airplane have a right wing or a left wing? You need both. You have to do both. And you can't do both, with the exception of Michelle Obama. You can't do both with one speech and one speaker. A brick is not a wall. And so you had, for example, the keynote was not turned over to a standard politician. It was 17 rising stars. Only 3 of those 17 were white dudes like me. That's the future of the Democratic Party. Really impressive, folks. So you have to do both. I wait till the convention ends. Tomorrow, you know, the lineup tomorrow, not just Hillary Clinton, who you mentioned, Elizabeth Warren, Nancy Pelosi, Michelle Lujan Grisham, the governor of New Mexico, Gabby Giffords, the former congresswoman from Arizona, and then the nominee for Vice President, Kamala Harris. This is going to be a powerhouse group of women, some of color, some not, all of them pushing Joe Biden toward victory. I just think it's going to be terrific tomorrow.
What do you like? What do you want more of? Rye?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Not you,
Sorry,
Van
no,
Gogh.
go ahead, Paul.
Rye.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I'm glad I have the floor. I want to drill down on one other point that I think is important. We haven't talked much about Sally Yates. And her speech tonight, I think this is also telling, like, there are a number of people outside of the political space that don't know who she is. Yes, she's super important, but they gave her more time than Stacey Abrams. I'm just talking about bad calculation. So to Paul's point about a right lung and a left lung, absolutely, especially with the coronavirus epidemic, we need both lungs, right? But I'm saying, like, think about it that way. Who are you engaging? Who from the convention committee is involved in programming this? I appreciate the Rising Stars moment. What I really appreciate about the party's diversity is the roll call moment. It was super powerful, way better than anything we've ever seen on the convention floor, right? But we're still having people say, build back better. That is a remix of Make America Great Again. Going backwards triggers me. It doesn't make me feel better about the direction of the country. We need to be talking about going forward. I don't know who, Paul, I hope it wasn't you, because you know I love you, was responsible for Build Back Better, but it's horrible framing, and it is tone deaf for people of color who just spent an entire several weeks marching about George Floyd, protesting police violence, protesting against racial injustice, also, which was hardly mentioned.
And you
today.
have the great
That is
delivery
not
device.
right.
You have a perfect delivery device also. We are living in the midst of a pandemic. You saw that roll call, people all over the country, you know, almost all of them were somehow mask sensitive within their own presentation. It checks every box of our struggles. People of color are getting sick more. They're getting treated less. They're getting treated worse. They have more at-risk factors. They're more essential workers by percentage. It's every inequity that we deal with is literally killing us right now in real time. You don't have to make it up. There is no cell. It's just dealing with the obvious. And what is also obvious is, Paul, thank you. Always a pleasure, especially at 2:23 in the morning here on the East Coast. Thank you. And Angela Rye, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Chris Cuomo. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Angela.
All right.